China trade talks will continue today in Washington, and hopes for some kind of deal seem to be higher than they were just 24 hours ago. President Trump says that he will meet in person with China's Vice Premier Liu He later today at the White House.
We're going to see if we make a deal, but they want to make it. We're going to determine whether or not we want to make it, but they've been very nice. And today I got a call from one of the top representatives. He said, "Congratulations, Mr. President, on having a truly great economy." That's pretty nice.
And joining us to discuss more from D.C. is Jeff Moon of China Moon Strategies. Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Well, what do you make of the chatter we are getting today? So often, day to day, we hear something and the markets react in kind, whether it's positive or negative. And then a week later, well, nothing has really moved the needle. But of course, today we do have an in-person meeting. So what do you expect? What's the optimistic case here?
Well, I think the optimistic case is that there is a mini deal. I don't think that anyone is thinking there's going to be a comprehensive deal that's going to take care of everything. Things that are being discussed are that on the American side, they might grant some licenses in non-sensitive technologies to Huawei. On the Chinese side, the main thing that's being offered is agricultural purchases. The Chinese really need the pork. They really need the soybeans. In no case do I see anyone making any real concessions. These are all self-interested actions that both sides would be taking were it not for the trade war. So they're giving themselves permission to do things that they'd like to do anyway.
Hey, Jeff, it's Heidi here. So let's say we do get a skinny deal. Do you think that's enough to pacify the markets for more than, let's say, a week or two? Because we've seen this scenario before where the Chinese have agreed to purchase agricultural products, but they back out of that every single time. So what do you think is the situation this time around?
Right. All of it depends on follow through. The Chinese actually, on the agricultural side, it appears that they have been making purchases steadily in the past few weeks. So there's a track record there of performance on some of these promises that are going to be made. But for example, there is talk about commitments on the financial sector, opening up the financial sector within the next year. I recall a few years ago, the Chinese premier came to the General Assembly of the UN and announced that a ban on American pork or beef in China was going to be lifted. And then when we looked at it, there were actually 3 or 4 more approvals that were actually required before someone could actually sell those products. So this is an example of how we need to look and see and examine very carefully whether there is performance. Another indicator of whether the parties are serious is what kind of follow-up meetings will there be. If things are going well, then you would think that USTR Lighthizer would be going to Beijing sometime soon for more negotiations. And then all of that is leading to APEC on November 16th or 17th, when the two leaders are actually going to meet and could maybe move things forward a little more.
Well, Jeff, I want to ask you, because the last time there was some sort of a deal was back in May, and then according to all the reports, China backed out of that. Now, I'm trying to think about what has changed since then. And of course, what has changed is that there are tremendous protests in Hong Kong. So what do you think that plays into the calculus of the Chinese right now in terms of coming to the table and getting a deal done with the U.S.?
Well, you're right that the Chinese decided to back away from the 150-page document that they were negotiating back in May. And among the things that have changed are the pressures on both of the leaders. I think that both Xi Jinping and Trump are politically at their weakest point of their tenures. Xi has been directly threatened by what's happening in Hong Kong, which is a direct challenge to China's rule in Hong Kong. Trump, in the meantime, is under a lot of pressure due to the impeachment inquiry that's now underway. So another reason for them to come to this deal is, frankly, to develop some good news and change the subject.
Hey, Jeff, let's wrap this way. Let's say we do get a mini deal, as you described it. What do you think that would do for the markets?
Well, any minor positive news drives the market up. I mean, the market is up 300 points today, for example, just on speculation that there's going to be a deal. So any positive sign can only be good for the markets.
All right. Believe it. Jeff Moon of China Moon Strategies. Thanks for coming on Wi-Fi AM.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.